What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay as we had footballs flying today over at the Don Hudson Center and Ray Nitschke Field and everything in between as OTAs are underway. Tim, it's a glorious day in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Man, we're getting so close. You can almost smell it. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm excited, dude. We got a couple things to talk about today. What we're going to do, gang, is we're going to split this into half. All right, we're going to do first half will be about the offense, anything we may have learned today. We'll show you a little bit of footage from camp as well, from all the great people that were tweeting across Packers Twitter earlier today. And then we'll dive into the defense. We'll see how long we go. We may go a couple hours. We'll see how everything's flowing. I see the chat's already lighting up. Shout out to everybody over there. Appreciate y'all making us part of your evening. If you would hit that like button on the way in, feel free to sub to the channel if you're new here. And appreciate you guys and gals jumping on board with us. I do want to give a quick shout out to My Autism Connection, building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. We've got a giveaway coming up where we're just driving a little bit of a fundraiser, if you will, for My Autism Connection. If you guys want to give to a great cause and also enter yourself into a contest to win an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey, just go to my Twitter account at Packers_access. You'll see a tweet pinned at the top of the page that has a link that says givebutter.com/KRPSJ5. And that'll send you directly to our giveaway. And anyone who donates, for every $5 you donate, you're going to be entered into the contest one time. We'll put everybody's name on a wheel, spin it, and give away that autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. Again, don't donate just to win a jersey. You know what I mean? Donate because it's an awesome cause. Yep. And this is just something to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit and give back to those who are a part of this awesome community that we've created here, and just an opportunity to give to a great cause. So, again, that is My Autism Connection. Appreciate them and everything they do over there, making a real difference, Tim, unlike us just sitting in here arguing and complaining over football constantly. Right. So,
hey, but we're trying to do our part, right? Shout out to Mac and Cheese Podcast, good people over there for sure, supporting a good cause. So anything we can do to help, we'll add it to this silly little show that we do every day, right?
Yep. Absolutely, man. It's the least I could do. I know that. But nonetheless, let's get into it, man. Let's talk some OTAs. Green Bay Packers, like I said, back in town with some OTAs. Tim, this video right here, sir, I'm going to keep the audio down, but how sick is this slow motion capture of this Jordan Love spiral?
Hold on a minute. Let me wipe them tears out of my eyes. It's a thing of beauty. I mean, look at this.
Yeah. And for everybody on the podcast that can't see this, go to the Packers Twitter, at Packers over on X, and just see this absolute dime piece to Jaden Reed. I think they said it was a 30-yard pass or something, but it's just a gorgeous arc, gorgeous spiral, arm talent out the wazoo when it comes to Jordan Love. Man, I think he's going to have a bounce back year this year, Tim. I really do, man.
I agree. I mean, look at that ball. I mean, that thing is just floating. It's just hovering, a thing of beauty. And you know what? This is that time of year, right? Everyone gets overly excited. OTAs. We got, like you said, footballs are flying at the facilities across the NFL right now. And every fan base is looking at videos like this, getting hyped up, right? But I think you're right, Clay, man. I think when you say bounce back year, that's not to imply that Jordan had a terrible season last year, because he didn't. He dealt with injury, and it was kind of an uphill battle. Missed a lot of games, but I think bounce back in the sense that Jordan's going to be healthy, and I mean, you see it right here, man. He's humming that tater, right? He looks relaxed. He looks comfortable. Cool, calm, collected. Looks like a guy who spent 60 to 80% of the offseason working on his craft and getting ready for days like this. So I'm sure by the time we roll through training camp and preseason and head into week one, I think J Money's going to be throwing dimes on the regular.
Yeah, I love what Ron Samuel says too. Jordan's going to have a little chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
I like the fact that he got a little snippy with the media there last week, Tim.
Yep.
I think it was on Friday when the question was asked, about taking a step back last year. And I'll tell you, I got to be real with you guys. Seeing the Dan Orlovsky tweet and everybody kind of gather into their corner and argue and back and forth, I have never seen more people argue and not just over the original tweet that had nothing in it at all. Just basically Dan Orlovsky saying, if you think Jordan Love regressed and you don't know ball, that's the most vague statement I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that would trigger people. But then on top of that, the fact that he felt obligated to kind of get on his high horse, right? I want to do the Pat McAfee high horse and stand on my chair here, but I'm afraid I'll fall. Get up there on his high horse and pretend like, you little people, you don't understand this guy. Man, listen, go watch the bad throws, go watch the interceptions, go watch the bad decisions, and tell me he played absolutely perfect ball. And then go watch the dime pieces he threw and try to convince me that he is, overrated. Like, it's football. And you can pick one or two clips to tell the story that you wanted to tell, but I was blown away at how many people were commenting and not saying anything, Tim. Nothing. Yeah. I mean, it was just that's one thing I can't stand. When something doesn't have substance, I check it.
It's like we went over that a couple of days ago with Mr. Bird right here as we watch him catching another dime piece from Jordan. He dropped it right in the breadbasket there for sure. But we talked about this with Jaden Reed, right? Oh, drop issues and these unfounded statistical categories that are invented out of thin air a lot of times, or a narrative that gets started with very little factual basis, and it's mostly rooted in feeling. And feelings are cool. Hey, we all have them, right? But facts are facts, right? And I think if you look at Jordan last year, he was a guy dealing with injuries. If he was 100% healthy and maybe put up the numbers that he put up, maybe you'd have an argument. But the fact that he missed the time that he missed and dealt with the issues that, he had an injury, and then, the injury caused another injury, another setback. So, I mean, I don't think you can sit there and criticize Jordan, for his season last year. I think it's just another quarterback dealing with injury, basically, is what we saw. So that's why we're excited for year 3 right here as the QB1, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm very excited. And here's the reality. We're going to see what we got in Jordan Love this year.
Yep.
2020, 2023, right? You're trying to, okay, can he handle being a starting quarterback? Can he handle the checks at the line? Can he handle setting the protection, all those things? First half of the season, it was pretty mediocre, right? Yeah. Second half of the season, better than – he had a 9-game stretch there that was better than Aaron Rodgers on MVP years. Now, again, it's only half a season, though. That don't make a hill of beans, right? So, we've seen the ceiling, and I feel like we've seen, the basement as well, if you will, the floor.
Yep.
And I don't think the floor was last year. I think last year was, right around the median line, maybe a little lower than the median line. But at the end of 2023, we seen, man, this is what this dude can be. And with young players, that's what you should gauge them off of. You should gauge it off of, all right, how did they look at their best? Because that's the potential. And now you stabilize that. You make that more consistent, and you teach them how to be pros. And continue to do that on a day in, day out basis. I'll never forget Greg Cosell talking about Jordan Love before he played his first game as starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. He said, the kid's got arm talent. He's got all the tools you need. The question is he going to be the same exact quarterback week in and week out? Even when things go bad, is he going to be able to reset and handle everything? I think he's done that pretty good. It doesn't mean he's perfect. But everybody in the chat, let me know if you hear a little static. I can't tell if it's on my end or not. Let me know in the chat if y'all hear any static whatsoever when you get a chance. But, again, Jordan Love, I'm excited about seeing what he can do this year. And again, I'm not knocking Dan Orlovsky for defending Jordan Love. I think it's awesome that he sees something in Jordan, because Dan did play at the NFL level. It's just the vague statement, and it does seem like in the dead part of the year, people just – the more vague they can make the tweet, the more interaction it's going to get, because people get the wrong way. And
scrape every last drop out of that content, right? You got to churn it up. It's the calm before the storm. In a few short weeks here, we're gonna the news feed is gonna definitely kick into overdrive. So I get it. It's that time of year, right?
Yeah. Mountain Man Pack said just a little bit of static, and United Bates said the static was Jacob incoming. There you go.
Here's the guy.
Jacob, what's up, man? We're just in here talking a little Jordan Love. Nothing detailed, just this absolute dime piece here. And it's slow motion footballs in the air, baby. It's OTAs. This is football's right around the corner.
No, that's exactly what I was hoping to see. I've been stuck at work all day. Ran here obviously a little late. Had to sit my butt outside for a second, but I was hoping to see some just beautiful slow motion balls being dropped. That's what I like. It was really.
Sit your butt outside.
Did you get rained on all day as well?
What's that?
Did you get rain all day as well?
No, I got like 15 minutes of like mild showers, and apparently we're supposed to get some thunderstorms, but it's all calm right now. Why? Right. Bad by you there, brother? You all right?
We just got dumped on for it seems like days straight.
Yeah. Ron Sample says Jacob produces a lot of pole static. So there you go. Jacob, you got to start wearing the right fabric out there, sir.
Or not if you grease it right.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Some other news, we've been talking about Marshawn Lloyd, what's going on with him. Well, lo and behold, today somebody made an appearance at Packers practice, as Rob Domofsky said. Marshawn Lloyd is back on the practice field for OTAs. We'll hit on some of the defensive stuff as well here in a little bit, but cornerback Nate Hobbs is out today due to a personal matter, and it was mentioned that Javon Bullard filled in the slot. We'll talk a defense on the second half of the show. Also, they didn't see Quay Walker, Jair Alexander, Trey Hill, John Williams, or Elton Jenkins. So Elton Jenkins, again, no surprise there. I wouldn't get worried about Elton until training camp. If we get into training camp and Elton's, still MIA, that's when I would be like, okay, this Goody's dug in. He's not going to give any more guaranteed money. Elton might dig in a little longer. That one thing about it, and again, we're going to talk Marshawn Lloyd right now, but one thing about that whole situation, at least Jacob Monk is getting some let's just talk about it now. He's getting some meaningful reps, Tim. That's one positive out of this. Positive, as Coach Mike McCarthy would say. So I know, and here's the other thing. You may look up at the end of OTAs and going into training camp and go, you know what? Jacob Monk looked pretty good. If that happens, then the leverage kind of flips back toward Green Bay, because we know if let's say Elton is not going to or is going to hold out through training camp or whatever, and I hope this doesn't happen, but let's say, okay, you got to make a decision now week 1. Do we really think Elton Jenkins would sit out the 2025 season and forego every bit of that money that he's due to try to get more guaranteed money? I mean, the last person I remember doing that, if I remember correctly, was Le'Veon Bell, and it absolutely ruined his career. There was someone else that did it for a short time. It was the Eagles edge rusher. I can't think of his name right now. But they traded him to the Jets. Hassan Reddick, is that right? Am I thinking right, boys?
Hassan Reddick, yeah. Didn't a Cowboys lineman try this too, and he ended up caving in after about like 4 weeks too? Because yeah.
So again, I understand where Elton's coming from, but what if you get through OTAs, Tim? What if you get going into training camp and Jacob Monk's a dude? All of a sudden, it's like, holy cow, this guy can play. Then you're not gonna budge on that contract, and now Elton's got to make a decision to come back in. Now, the only thing that worries me there a little bit is would he try to upset the apple cart a little bit?
Yeah, I don't see Elton being that guy, but
I don't either.
I think this is the time of year, though, like you said, like this is when these guys can get reps. So if Jacob Monk is showing flashes right now, and this carries over into training camp and into the preseason, and they're working them in, on a regular basis because Elton Jenkins is, not there, then it is what it is. Either way, I think the Packers' position when it comes to Elton Jenkins, I mean, I don't know how much that's going to change based on any other factor right now. I think they probably feel how they feel, and I think Big E feels how he feels. He's he's at that dirty 30 mark. He's looking for some guaranteed money and some security here in the mid to late stages of his career. He's moving over to center. I don't think anyone's wrong in this situation. I think the Packers got to do what's best for the Packers, and Big E's going to be a team guy, but he's also got to look out for his own career, right? You're only your own person, right? You got one life to live. So I don't knock any parties right now, especially this time of year. But to answer your question, if we start seeing we're 5-6 days away from the first preseason game, and we haven't seen Elton Jenkins at all. And we've seen a lot of Jacob Monk. And, if he proves to be the dude, then I think you got to give him those reps. However, we can sit here and speculate all we want. For all we know, this will be handled pretty quickly, right? And they'll just get something done, keep Elton here for, I'm anticipating at least a 3 to 5 year deal, some kind of thing for him, some kind of, security, job security for a guy like him. So I think time will tell, but nothing would really surprise me at this point, other than Elton Jenkins full out, holding out or, refusing to participate. So
Yeah.
Real quick before we move off of the offensive line, what do you think about? I thought the exact same thing that Coach Len said. John Williams, what are you doing? Ron Sandville also chimed in and says, does John Williams have some kind of reason to be missing? I believe Coach went on to say he was gone last week also when practice was open to the public. Has anybody in the comments, or Clay, does anybody understand as to why he wouldn't be around?
I just did a search using AI, combing through the intrawebs, and speculation. It could be minor injury. It could be personal matter. I didn't see anything contractually. Now, to me, sometimes the rookies can hold out to try to get the lingo, the language in the contract exactly where they want it, but I haven't heard that specifically either. So I have no idea. I'm hoping that maybe somebody in the chat has, because again, what was he, a 7th round pick? Am I thinking right?
7th round pick. You know who that reminds me of? Remember year in and year out when Jonathan Garvin randomly just wouldn't show up, and I'd be like, why is Jonathan Garvin not here? Why is he so confident? Yeah.
Right. No, that's a great comp there. Yeah. So I don't know. Anybody knows in the chat, let us know far away. But back to Marshawn Lloyd, as you can see here, it's good to have him back in the fold, and he looks completely healthy. It sounded like he had another injury setback was the reason he started off kind of missing the practices, Jacob, but obviously was out there today. And man, this running back room can be special. It really can. It already is with Josh Jacobs. We talked about how he's pretty much a top 5 back in every important statistical category last year. Emmanuel Wilson is one of the best backups in the entire league, grading out better than many starting running backs across the league. Got Marshawn Lloyd in here. That if he is completely healthy, man, I think the sky's the limit for this running back room. And the other thing to mention is Marshawn Lloyd could potentially be the future. If he comes out and he pops, Jacob, and then you look up and go, you know what? There's no reason to give Josh Jacobs any more guaranteed money. And kind of like the whole Elton thing, that's how Russ Ball and Goody likes to do business. Get that guaranteed money out of the way in the first couple of years, and then you've got the choice to move on. And no way, shape, or form do I want him to move on from Josh Jacobs. But if you hit a home run on Marshawn Lloyd, you feel good about when Josh Jacobs' time is up, you extend Lloyd and you just keep this thing rolling. But long way to go. Obviously, injury's been an issue. What do you think about the way he looks here, Jake? And shout out to Ryan Wood, by the way, @by Ryan Wood, for this video that he posted on X.
Yeah, you guys know that I'm usually pretty excited and can get pretty hyped on certain players. I can't help but I'll have to tamp down my expectations with Lloyd until I really do see him stay throughout the offseason program, into training camp, into preseason, and hopefully get to see him actually on the field in live action, because as up to this point, I just don't have enough stuff on tape, enough product to look at and really be happy with. I mean, he's not the UDFA, he's not a late round pick. We put some pretty big draft capital in this guy, and we've gotten basically zero return on that investment so far. But with that being said, if you flip on the USC tape, you understand why they thought this dude could absolutely be a home run killer. There was a certain play where it was like just a stretch play to the left, and it got stuffed up right away, and he bounced it back and had the speed and the direction and just the smarts to absolutely – he burned everybody by like 10 yards. I mean, he was able to completely turn around the field, switch, run, basically 30 yards just to go laterally to get upfield 1 foot. And then when he made that last step and kind of turn on the burners, nobody was catching that dude. And you watch the way that he runs, it's a very, I don't want to say he's upright, but it's very like balanced, and it's like deceivingly shifty when he wants to like kind of put on the deke moves. He seems like his body is, he reminds me a little bit of like Maurice Jones-Drew, if you remember him, just kind of like a very like tough guy to get down because he's such a balanced runner. Obviously doesn't have the tree trunks like he did, but I'm excited. I think that the sky's the limit for this guy. And you talked about how great this back room could be. when you talk about a guy like Chris Brooks, maybe being the odd man out, and you've got guys like Wilson, him, and obviously with Jacobs, that's pretty special backroom.
Yeah, Tim, I remember during the draft process, Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout, and obviously the lead draft expert over at NFL and NFL.com, he said Marshawn Lloyd was his highest graded running back in that draft that he came out. So what do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of a popular narrative amongst a lot of talking heads, is that Marshawn Lloyd was arguably the best running back in last year's draft. So I think, to your point, Clayton, about, we don't want to get ahead of our skis here and, talking about Josh Jacobs and his future, because I know Josh Jacobs has publicly stated on more than one occasion that he would like to retire at Green Bay Packers. So if it were up to Josh Jacobs, he would finish his career here.
Absolutely.
So, but unfortunately, it's not up to him. It's up to the brass at 1265, right? And to Jacobs' point, this is why you have a stable of young talent behind your veteran leaders and behind your go-to guys. And, there's a reason, like Jacob brought up the USC tape on Marshawn Lloyd, and you see it all over the film. Even if you're just watching like condensed games, not even just looking at highlights, you can see, what this guy is capable of. Unfortunately, injuries, illness, kind of an up and down rookie year for him. And it's fair to say we haven't seen anything from him. That being said, I would fully anticipate that these 3 preseason games, we're going to see a lot of Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson carrying the football. I would almost think that they're going to want to, maybe give him, a little bit more reps than normal, maybe in training camp in the preseason, just to kind of get him back up to speed. I mean, the guy hasn't played football in 8 months, 10 months, something like that. So, I mean, get the ball in his hand, get him some reps, and let's see what we got with this kid, because you're right. It's the NFL, not for long. You got to be thinking ahead. And I feel good about this running back room with guys like Marshawn Lloyd and, Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah. United Bates, back to the John Williams conversation, says he signed his rookie contract on May the 2nd, so it's definitely not a contract thing. And Deadfish said, could it be he is at one of those schools that don't let them leave until they graduate? I think it's a poor wording there. Deadfish made it sound like they got him tied up, but
never leaving.
Is like, in some cases, guys are trying to finish and get their degree, right? And it's, maybe ties into the OTA aspect. I don't know. I would have a hard time believing it's that too, but
Deadfish just said, seems like the University of Cincinnati's graduation is early May, so it's not that.
Right? Yeah. Appreciate you looking that up, Deadfish. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's strange. I'm a little bit gun shy. I ain't gonna lie. Who was the running back, or I'm sorry, the offensive lineman that we drafted? Oh, I'm trying to think. Was it not Stefanski? Stepaniak?
Oh, Stepaniak or
Stepaniak or something.
Stepaniak. Yep. Yeah, I remember who you're talking about.
Yeah, he kind of held out a little bit and then popped in and held out. Next thing you know, he retired. It's like, damn, okay, it was a wasted draft pick, right? I remember that happening. So hopefully it's nothing like that. You get a little, like I said, a little gun shy and stuff like that does happen. But
was it Coach Lent, Cole Matt? We had that happen with Cole Madison.
See, Cole Madison, I think, was another one.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
it's because there was Stepaniak. No, Stepaniak, you're right. He did the same thing.
Did he? So there was 2 of them. Wow. Interesting. So hopefully that's not the case with John Williams and everything works out there, obviously. But since we're talking offensive line, I thought this was really cool. Zach Tom has been a big topic of conversation, Jacob, with him going into a contract year. Now, you got Elton Jenkins, who's looking to get a little more guaranteed money, probably going to be his last big bite at the apple. So he's trying to get a little chunk of change before he turns 30, rightfully so. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you got a 4th-round pick in Zach Tom, who's coming up for a contract next year. And I thought this was really cool. Matt LaFleur says it means a lot to him that Zach Tom has been present at voluntary OTAs. When he could be sitting out until he gets a contract extension. I think that's a great move by Matt LaFleur to mention that. Like, hey, listen, this dude has every right to go, hey, I'm not coming in until I get a deal. And the fact that he's in here makes me want to give him that deal, Jacob. You know what I'm saying?
He was the best guy around.
I just think it's a smart way to handle a player, like you said, that has to be a leader. You know that there's stuff going on in that offensive line room, so you don't want to have two of your stars in any way dismayed. So being a leader of men, I think that Matt too, he's grown enough to understand that like you can't be really playing favorites in front of people, but you definitely can give guys their flowers and give them credit, especially like you said, when it's in a contract situation where you definitely want to try to see if you can you guys know how cheap I am. If you can try to even save a little bit of money by just getting that done a little early and maybe not letting him, I hate saying not letting him see what his true worth is in the league, but not letting it get to the point where he has us more leverage over us as far as the negotiations go. And I just think it's a great thing to do. And I wonder if Matt LaFleur has learned. He has to have learned. There's no if. He has to have learned from previous experiences, whether that be with Rodgers or just any other players, that there may be a certain way of tweaking your interactions, especially publicly in the media with your players. You know what I mean? Like not dragging them. There are times for that. There are times where like whoever he mentioned, I'm sure, of not being in shape. I'm sure that person knows exactly who he was talking about, but he didn't need to say, "Hey, 52, you fat." You know what I mean?
Hey, whoa.
No, it's like you always say, Clayton, right? You criticize in private and you give praise in public, right?
Yeah.
And that's what good coaches do. If you've got an issue with a player, you've already talked to him, you've already had that conversation before anything's said to the media. So I think to that point, I think Matt's doing a good job. Like Jacob said, you can say things without getting into the nitty-gritty specifics, right?
Yeah, and in some cases, coaches will actually go to certain players. Like Belichick talked about this on a podcast the other day it was kind of a players only type podcast. And he said, I would go to Brady before practice and be like, hey, I'm really going to get on you today. I'm just be ready. Okay. Be prepared for it. Tom's like, all right, it's cool. And that you're setting that tone like, damn it, if Tom Brady is fair game, I know I am as the third best wide receiver on the team. Right. So, Mike Holmgren perfected the art of doing that with the coordinators, with the assistant coaches. He would let the assistant coaches know, listen, I'm going to get on your ass today at practice because if I get on you instead of the players and they respect you, they're going to go, oh, man, my guy's getting chewed out and it's my fault. And they're going to want to up that game, right? And that was Bill Walsh 101. And many of his players, while they played for Bill Walsh, were very vocal that, man, I hated the way that he did that psychology, that, manipulation. And then afterwards, with all the championships, you go, boy, he knew what he was doing, So those things do matter for sure. And I did get you a new screen grab here, Tim. I don't know if you've seen it yet. You ready for this? Look at that one right there, baby. I love that side eye.
I love it. That's almost as good as the Coach Halfley one we have. I love it.
Yeah, and I got them right next to each other for quick reference. Man, you can hit them with that. You can hit them with that, whichever you're feeling. Matt Schneidman also tweeted out.
I just caught the ball.
Matt Schneidman also tweeted out only Penei Sewell, and I'm hearing people call him Penny Sewell now. I thought it was Penei Sewell.
I thought it was Penei.
Yeah, I tell you, man. Anyway, and Lane Johnson got more All-Pro votes at right tackle than Zach Tom. So the only two guys that got more All-Pro votes than Zach Tom at right tackle. Tom said, quote, I think when I'm at my best, I'm the best in the league. More on Tom in a story later and what he said about waiting for a contract extension entering the final year of his rookie deal. So make sure you guys keep up with Matt Schneidman and his work over at The Athletic. That'll be a hell of an article, I'm sure.
Don't you love that quote from Zach Tom, though?
Oh, yeah.
I think when I'm at my best, I'm the best in the league. And that's like a textbook definition of a person who's confident in their abilities, confident in themselves, but not arrogant or being cocky, right? Yep. I mean, that's not an indictment on, offensive linemen across the board. That's just Zach Tom being comfortable in his own skin and, with what he's bringing to the table. And you want to see that as a fan, right? You don't want to see players that are, second guessing themselves or maybe doubtful. I love seeing that kind of confidence. Own it. When you're at your best, you're the top of the top. I love it.
Yeah. All right. We also, since we're talking offensive line, got a little look at Anthony Belton today, working through some drills as Matt Schneidman put this tweet out with the video.
Big Escalade. Let's go.
Yeah. Big old boy, man. Big old boy. So they just, listen, nothing crazy here. Just going through a little gauntlet of pass blocking essentially. And, I see. Look at bringing up the rear there, number 79, Mr. Travis Glover.
Yep.
Emilio
Emilio's fired up right now.
Grinning like a possum in a dumpster. Right
Glover
now.
actually looks pretty big, dude.
He's big boy, man. And
Man,
look at
Ryan's
Sean
big
Ryan
too. Yeah, that's a big dude.
Sean Ryan thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, man. That
Yeah,
dude,
he looks like he put on a little bit of weight this year too, right?
And one thing about Sean Ryan, I thought he took a big step forward last year. Now, does that warrant getting starter money? Probably not. But I love that mean streak he's got too, man. There was a couple articles wrote about him, and I want to say it was about his uncle. It was either his uncle or his grandfather, and a Vietnam story, and just like he's one of those dudes. He's cut from the right cloth in terms of just a BA out there, man. Somebody you want in the trenches with you. I would love to see him take a step forward and make it be a really tough decision on Goody on whether or not you want to bring him back, because last year, reality is he stepped up, man. There was times where my man struggled. Last year he looked pretty darn good, I thought anyway. I mean, he wasn't all pro caliber, but he held his own at right guard. There's no doubt about that. It gives you a little bit of versatility at the center position. But in terms of Anthony Belton, I don't know. How do we feel about this, guys? And we'll start with you this time, Tim. It sounds like Jordan Morgan took number 2 reps at left tackle, so him and Rasheed Walker are working there. Everything I've heard in terms of Brian Bulaga talking about, Mark Tauscher talking about it, the rumor is Belton's going to be competing for a guard spot, right, at right guard. So Jordan Morgan and Rasheed Walker battling at left tackle. Now, I think we would all agree that if Rasheed Walker runs away with that, then you're going to get Jordan Morgan playing right guard again, most likely now that he's healthy. But Anthony Belton at guard, man, if you can pass block at left tackle, you can darn sure pass block at right guard.
Yep. And we as fans, we get caught in the weeds with this a lot of times. Like, oh, here we go again, another tackle we're turning into a guard. Or it's like, hey, when you get to the NFL, it's, you're drafted by a team. They want to see where you're at your best, right? You've never played at this level before. They've never had you under their wing before. They want to see what you can do. And if you look better as a guard, doesn't matter if you've played, 1,400 snaps at left tackle. They want to put you your best foot forward, right? It's like Jacob says a lot of the times, we want the best 5, right? It doesn't matter where they are. And we have versatile O-linemen on this team already. So I think taking a guy like, Anthony Belton here and asking him to move to guard, hey, at least he can compete for a spot on this team. And it's a way to play yourself onto the field. So as far as expectations, I mean, it's Green Bay, right? We want all our guys to be all pro, right? The expectation level is high for all of our rookies, but I think we have to be patient and we have to let rookies develop. And sometimes it's, 1 year, half a year. Some guys come in, they're ready to go right away. Some guys, it takes 2 or 3 years. You don't know. So I'll tell you what, the size and the strength and the blocking ability, I love all of those attributes of Anthony Belton's game for sure. It's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, what do you think, Jacob? You think he's competing for guard, man? I mean, there's really no spot at tackle for him right now, I don't believe, unless injury, right?
I mean, I would hope that he's competing and not just, saying that he's competing. And the one thing that does kind of bother me a little bit is just the amount of guaranteed money that Banks is going to get. It almost seems like that there's nothing that even could do to upstage him in the depth chart, at least for this year. Unless things go really bad with Banks. You can say maybe, let me know if you think that's wrong, but unless he completely whiffs the bed for like the first 6, 7, 8 games, I just don't see them throwing away that much money on letting somebody take over that left guard position. Now, if again, injuries happen, or I would be more interested if he could be possibly good enough to take over Ryan's position. But at the same time, like you said, I really enjoy the progress that Ryan made, and I would really love to see this last year of his to see if, like you said, it's worth extending him. But I'm excited for Belton. I just feel like that for a second round draft pick, I would have hoped that we'd have more murmurings of him being like, hey, this is a play type guy. Because if not, then I do feel like the second round may have been just a bit of a stretch just for this year. But I know the Packers don't draft most teams like most fans would like them to do. They see the potential and understand that if you have to use a second round draft kind of guy that maybe isn't a plug and play starter, but in 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, he can be a perfect starter for you, then I think I understand why they made the move.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, like injuries are going to happen. Belton's going to see time. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
I mean, it's so rare that all 5 starting offensive linemen stay completely healthy for every single snap of an NFL season. So you're going to see them from time to time, and that's the beautiful thing about preseason too. We're gonna get to see some of these young guys shine and get their opportunity to prove their worth out there against similar talent in terms of backups and third stringers there throughout preseason. So that'll be a lot of fun there as well. Not to mention the camp battle aspect. But let's shift focus to wide receiver real quick before we jump over to defense. And Romeo Doubs was asked about initial impressions of Matthew Golden. Now, listen, this audio is going to be kind of echoey and really, really low. Spoiler alert, he said, kid's a stud, man. And I think it's cool that Romeo Doubs, Matt LaFleur's talked about Romeo Doubs has been helping the young guys, right, this entire time. And where some fans see Romeo as like, oh, he's upset about last year. I feel like Romeo's in a really good place. Whether he gets paid here, which I think is highly unlikely, if he goes out and balls out this year, he's going to get a big paycheck somewhere else. And if it's not with Green Bay, it's going to be a nice little comp pick for us. And he's going to go on to make a good chunk of change as potentially a number 1 or a number 2 receiver in the league, depending on how hard up the team is. Here's what Romeo had to say. And again, I apologize for the volume. I'll try to crank it up for everybody on the podcast.
Along those lines, what have been your early impressions of Matthew Golden?
Oh man, here's the stuff, man. Doesn't really say much. He just comes in and works. And, he has been real consistent in the area. So, if he has any questions for me, he comes to me. If he goes to Jade, he goes to Jade. He makes sure that he asks as many questions as he can. Because he is a rookie, and man, kid's playing fast right now, so I'm excited to see it.
All right, so again, that was by Ryan Wood with another video there that he sent out. Romeo, you can tell how socially awkward he is in those settings, Yeah. And it does
like in media, right?
Yeah. I mean, it makes me like the guy. I'm going to be honest with you. I relate to that, right?
It makes me like Matthew Golden even more, because if Romeo Doubs is saying, hey, he doesn't say much, he just comes in and works. It's like, man, if Romeo Doubs is saying this guy's quiet. Right. Clearly Matthew Golden's cut from the right cloth, right?
Yeah. And if you want to see Matthew Golden, here he is on a deep ball from Malik. Had to pull up a little bit, but again, this is routes on air, but it's just nice to see the guys out there and in the unis and getting a little work in on the practice field. Matthew Golden, man, everything we've heard so far has been nothing but positive, right? You heard Jordan say he's way more polished than he expected. Not in those exact words, but he did mention the word polished. You've heard Romeo Doubs call him a stud. Jaden Reed mentioned him as well, and he's another veteran that's been helping Matthew Golden along. I was thinking about this today, Tim. I'm going to get your all's take on it. We hadn't drafted a wide receiver since 2002 in the first round, right? Now, the last time that we came real close to drafting a wide receiver in the first round, you guys will remember, they said they had Justin Jefferson extremely high on their board, and they were also going to draft Brandon Ayuk in the first round, and the 49ers jumped up and nabbed him from them. Both of those guys, excellent receivers. Some would argue that both of them are number 1 receivers, right? I don't know how you feel about Ayuk, but I think he's right there on the cusp if he's not considered number 1. The reason I mention that is if Goody had a true first-round grade on those guys, which we know he did at the time because later on it comes out that they were maneuvering and positioning to try to be the one to draft Ayuk. That's a good little gauge to go, okay, the last wide receiver that Goody had a first-round grade on, both of them studs in the league. Right. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's kind of how I throw that comp out there. I'm excited about Matthew Golden, man. I think he's going to be one of these players that right from the jump. Now, listen, I'm not expecting a 1,500-yard season. Like I said before, 600-700 yards is a great start for a rookie, right? But if he comes out somehow, some way, and he's sniffing 900 yards and he's taking the top off the defense and opening things up underneath Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, home run of a pick, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly the Pack had a first-round grade on Matt Golden, right? I mean, it was kind of the – we were at the draft. We heard him talking before day one, before the picks were announced. I think it's kind of come out at this point that it was kind of the known unknown that the Packers were going to probably take him in the first round. We know he knew before he was picked for sure. And it just goes to show. And then we go ahead and in the third round grab Savion Williams. This is what we talked about earlier in the running back room, right? You keep a fresh crop of young talent behind the guys that you've been developing and the guys that are your main guys. We got a bunch of wide receiver one guys because every week it's a different guy that's our wide receiver one. Some weeks it's Bird. It's been Christian Watson in the past. We've leaned on Romeo Dobbs a lot in the past. We've got a kid in Matthew Golden here that is going to give us even more depth and more options. So clearly I'm going to go ahead and be a Goot licker and trust in Goot and believe in the draft picks and say that, yeah, hell yeah, I'm fired up about Matt Golden and Savion Williams for that matter as well. This receiving room is arguably getting better every year the last 2 to 3 years, these past couple of drafts. So sky's the limit for this group.
Jacob, Matthew Golden, what do you think, Buck?
Yeah, again, it's a guy that I don't want to have too high of hopes on just because it's just not in the Packers' MO to let guys come out in their rookie year and just take spots over starters or guys that have been there for years or that have been kind of entrenched in a certain system. Whether or not that's good or bad, I argue that obviously we wish Adrian Cooper got the reins let loose a little bit earlier. And you can say that about a number of different players in the past, but there is just something that feels a little different about Mr. Matthew Golden and the way that it seems like the confidence that the team in the front office has in him and maybe the quiet confidence he has in himself. And I don't know what to think about him. He's not necessarily the size I was hoping for. He definitely has the speed I was hoping for. There's a lot left to be seen as to how his game translates into the NFL level. But again, if any of that sort of the highlight reel, the tape, when you put that on, you understand as to why they did have that first round draft grade on him. And a great point that Clayton made is if Goot is that good at saying, hey, this dude's a first round selection, and you compare it to the other ones that he had in previous years, like you said, the Justin Jeffersons, the Brandon Ayuks, I'm willing to give the kid a few games to get his feet wet and see what we have there for sure. And I will remind you guys that as of 2 or 3 days ago, that Underdog for this season had basically Golden's par or his average being at 4.5 touchdowns receiving and 750 receiving yards, which, as Clayton said,
let's go. That's right on the money. I
think we could easily, and I'd be fine with that. You know what I mean? If he came with like 5 tuds and had around 750, 800 yards, I'd consider that to be actually a pretty darn good, successful season with how deep this wide receiver room is. So I'm very, very excited. And if I had to put a number on it, I think he crushes that receiving touchdowns total. I think he has more like 6+.
I agree on that. I would take the over there. I would.
Yep.
Because for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Did he have 9 touchdowns last year in college? Is that what it was? I want to say that was the number. I shouldn't ask a question I don't know the answer to. I apologize for putting you on the spot. I want to say it was 7 or 9, something like that, and that was with Quinn Ewers underthrowing him.
9. Yep.
Quinn Ewers and that gumbo arm.
I feel pretty good, pretty darn good about Ed Madden confirmed as well. I feel good about that over 4.5, whatever it was, Jacob. I could see somewhere between, 6 and 8, something like that, easy, because there's going to be opportunities because Matt LaFleur likes to throw the ball when you get inside the 20. That's the reality of it, so I could definitely see that.
Also, is it just me or I just love the way Malik Willis is letting the ball rip? I feel like he's really becoming a better quarterback than people are giving him credit for. And I think it'll be interesting to see if one more year of him, if there is, knock on wood, God forbid, I hope it doesn't happen. But if he gets into the game, hopefully it's in garbage time, cleanup time. If that guy keeps progressing with like being a pocket quarterback passer, I did not realize how athletic and how big, like he reminds me of like, back when Cam Ward and like Jameis Winston's types, but with way better like control of his body. He's not just big and beastly. He's like very agile when he runs. Like watching some of the design runs that they had that LaFleur had made for him when Jordan went out last year, I was like, God, he is good. Like we have a great backup quarterback.
I don't think it's a secret. Malik Willis probably starts on 5 to 10 other teams in the NFL, right?
But dude, you go back and watch his Liberty tape.
probably go and be a starter.
Yeah, you go back and watch his Liberty tape though, and I just couldn't believe how much of a freak he was out of the backfield. Like when he decides to tuck it and run, good luck, dude. You're gonna have to put a big body on him.
Yeah, I know he fell in the draft because Census Big Board had him as a first round pick. They had him ranked in the first round, pretty high too. Dan Orlovsky was really high on him. I do remember that specifically because he got raked over the coals after he dropped. But and the other thing I want to say here, Jacob, and this will wrap up hour one. As you were saying, he's underrated. He don't get enough praise. Neither does Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur took him off the garbage heap, right? And literally went out and won, 2 or 3 games last year with him? 2 games, I think it was, right? The 2 starts he had. So, yeah. I like Malik Willis. And listen, the last thing I want to see is Jordan Love get hurt. He gives us the best chance to win. But I've said it 1,000 times on this show. I remember the days when it was like you were always holding your breath. If Aaron Rodgers goes down, we're screwed.
Seneca Wallace. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's like, you will see me. If Jordan misses time, if he leaves the game, I will always tweet out Willie Beeman from Any Given Sunday. I will always tweet that out like, here comes Willie Beeman. That's who he reminds me of. It's just like, all right, guys, we're not going to miss a beat. Let's get in here. He's electric. He's fun to watch.
You got to feel good about this QB room, right? Behind Jay Love. Yeah. I mean, like even looking at Clifford, like Sean Clifford is
he's a gamer, man. He's
the grizzled veteran of this quarterback room. Let's be honest. But like, Taylor Elgersma, is that how you say it? The Canadian? Yes, Elgersma. Like
big arm, dude.
That dude's got a big arm. He's got that big body type quarterback too. Like, like you were saying, Jacob, almost that like a Big Ben or a Phillip Rivers, a guy that's gonna be able to take some shots there and stand in the pocket and make a throw. Elgersma is gonna give Sean Clifford a run for his money. I'm telling you guys right now. I don't know how many we're gonna carry on the roster, but the quarterback room looks really, really good right now.
Just off topic, did you guys get that meme I sent you of Phillip Rivers has got his oldest son has now entered like the collegiate level, and they put a little like quote. It's like Phillip Rivers' children are now old enough to play in the college level. Get ready to see a new highlight like a Fast and Furious movie every 2 years for the next 10 years or 10 kids. He's got, I think, like 13.
Bro, there was some kind of stat out there that was, I say a stat, it was a fact. I may be completely off base here with it being grandchild, but it was something like his oldest grandchild could potentially play football with one of his kids. It was something crazy like that. It was just like, what the heck? Maybe it was a net. You guys go look it up. I'm sure you can find it.
No, I know what you're trying to say because he's.
Oh no, my man is putting in work, bro.
He's starting his own baseball team, maybe his own football team. Who knows?
He heard all the Bill Gates conspiracy theories and said, "I'm going to repopulate this thing myself." You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like.
Oh,
yeah, right on time. All right, that's going to wrap it up for hour one. Now that Emilio's in here, we'll see you guys on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour two, and you got a warning here. We mentioned Bill Gates, and Emilio comes sliding right in like Alex Jones.
Excelio!
What's happening?
Typical.
Yeah. You guys hit 90 down there today, Emilio?
Dude, I went through a gallon and a half of water, no problem, man. Everything stuck to me.
Yeah. I told Eric today, we were out mowing. We did, I don't know, something like 18, 19 yards today. And it got up to 87. And I told him, I said, just stop talking to me. I don't want to talk to you the rest of the day. I'm done.
No more. I'm losing energy just even conversating with you in the car right now.
All right. Exactly. All right, man. Let's hit this question real quick before we get into the defensive side of the ball. Boogaloo Batty, awesome profile pic there too. Nice. Says, you tell he's related to Jacob. Hey, did we ever find out why Savion is wearing a red jersey? I don't know. Does anybody know? Is he got to be some kind of injury? I would imagine, right? Shoulder? Is that what it was, Tim?
I think it's a nagging shoulder. That's my best guess.
Dude, his feet look good, man.
Yep.
I'm not trying to go Rex Ryan here. I'm talking about his footwork. My man, he looks like he's going to be a hell of a route runner, especially for someone that's many people have tried to write off as a gadget player, that type of thing, right?
Saying he's unpolished, but then you watch him run and you're like, that looks pretty shiny to me, man.
There's natural something there, right? Like he just he gets it. He reminds me of a big Randall Cobb. Like, you could tell Randall Cobb from day one, it was going to click. It was just he learned, he knows how to move, he knows how to create separation, he knows how to find those tight windows. Yep. He's got excellent body control, and I know he's way bigger than Randall Cobb. Probably a horrible comp there, but that's what I think of. I remember seeing Randall on the football field at the University of Kentucky and going, that dude is so fluid. And to me, that's how Savion Williams looks.
That's a great comp because they're both versatile receivers, right? Capable of doing just about anything on that field. Funny enough, both of them capable of throwing a touchdown pass just as much as catching a touchdown pass as well. Mm-hmm. And while you're bringing up Randy, shout out to Randall Cobb, Kentucky Wildcat Football Hall of Famer, baby.
Right, baby.
Let's go.
Hey, that's like saying you're the sharpest student in Harlan County, Kentucky, but hey, we'll take it. You know what I mean? Seriously. No, listen, he did so much for that program at Kentucky and gave us something to root for, and he was just all heart. And the fact that Kentucky just snatched him right out of Tennessee's backyard was just absolutely awesome. Awesome to see. So let's get into the defensive side. Before we do, real quick, just Paul Brettel put a tweet out, said starting O-line in 11-on-11 was Walker at left tackle, Aaron Banks left guard, Jacob Monk at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and then Zach Tom at right tackle. We've already kind of hit on all that, with Jacob Monk getting his opportunity. But I wanted to point out the defensive side. I said Isaiah Simmons was with Cooper and McDuffie at linebacker. Now, obviously, Quay Walker is still banged up. He's dealing with some kind of injury. So it wasn't like they put Simmons in there starting in place of Quay, right, or starting over Quay. But I think what it tells us here, though, is Simmons and McDuffie are going to be battling for that number 3 linebacker. And I don't know how you guys feel, but to me, it seems like McDuffie's got the edge there. Would you guys agree with that? Or do you think Isaiah Simmons is going to get a real serious look here as the number 3 linebacker? What do y'all think? We'll start with you, Emilio. Sorry, Tim.
Sorry to cut you off there, Tim. I would say that Isaiah Simmons, we're just trying to get him reps early to see so that we know. If not, I think that it's got to be McDuffie or Hopper. Unless Isaiah Simmons really shows something, and I think that's why you put him out there first, just to try to get an idea, and then you kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's what Debfish said. Let's see what we got in Simmons, Tim. How do you feel about it, man? Because McDuffie has been with Jeff Hafley at Boston College before, right? And it's obvious when they sign him to that extension, they see something in McDuffie that they really, really like,
Yeah, I agree. I unequivocally feel that McDuff is, the third linebacker for sure behind Quay and Coop. I think Zay McDuffie is the guy. Now that's not a knock on Simmons, and I agree with Deadfish and as well as Emilio's point that hey, get him in early and often. Let's see what we got. Let's see what it's looking like. But I feel like the future at stack backer is definitely Coop, Quay, McDuffie, and then we're looking at Tyron Hopper behind him. But then again, we don't know. We got to see how camp plays out. We're only at OTAs right now. There's a lot of time left before we really see this team kind of take shape. But if you ask me today, what do I think? I think, Zay McDuffie is your third linebacker for sure. And like you said, Clay, it's evident in the fact that they chose to keep him around, gave him that new deal, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I go back and forth with the linebacker room because, that's my favorite position just in football in general. And I really think we obviously know what we have with Coop. I think we know what we have with the possibility of where we could plug in Quay and the two of them absolutely being predominantly on the field. The third linebacker situation is kind of the one that I'm kind of scratching my head with. I have been a big McDuffie fan since the day we got him. I thought that he was always underrated. And now I think that, unfortunately, he may have relegated down to the I hate saying this, but I think he may be a progress stopper. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't want to say anything bad about I want him on the team. I think we're a better team with him on our squad. I think that he more represents now what the linebacker floor should be in that room. And I would hope that guys like Simmons, because of his draft pedigree, I would hope that guys like Hopper, because of his draft pedigree and having another year in the league, or insert, let's say maybe an Oliver surprises everybody, and that dude's got a lot of skill. I would expect that those guys get to have more playing time over McDuffie, and McDuffie just doesn't get the nod because, hey, we've been around, we've known you for longer, we know exactly what your floor is, but we should say we know what we're going to get out of you, and we're not going to get anything terrible. Whereas with the other guys, we don't quite even know if what we're gonna get out of them. And I just want to see us test those waters. By the time that week 1 comes, I just want the best 3 out there starting, whatever that is.
Amen to that. Paul Brindle went on to say the cornerbacks were Nixon and Valentine. Bullard came in for Simmons and played nickel. So obviously Nate Hobbs missed today with personal reasons. Hopefully everything's all right there. Probably a family issue or something like that, I would imagine. But that kind of tips the hand there a little bit. That Bullard is probably that backup slot still, right? And it sounds like they're probably going to push Nate Hobbs into that slot position, and he'll probably bounce back to the outside in base, I would imagine. That's if Jair isn't here. The thought of Jair being on this team, man, I still get excited about it because, my God, man, I feel good about the cornerback room without it. But you add him in a year where he's going to be extra motivated, and if they do restructure the deal, some people were rumored as saying, that, hey, they may just axe that final year off of the deal and just part ways after this year, that type of thing. If that's the case, then, you got to see what you got in Valentine. You got to kind of roll the dice here a little bit. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm the only Packer fan that's not stressing out over whether Jair is going to be here or not. I want him back. The team's better with him, with him on it. But I don't know how you guys feel about that. Jacob, what do you think? We'll start with you this time. Are you? How concerned are you? 1 to 10. How concerned are you if Jair Alexander is not on this team next year? With 10 being the most concerned.
Right. I honestly think that I'd be 6.
I think it's fair.
I'm kind of like you. I wouldn't say that I didn't care, but I was more. I've had a lot of confidence in Carrington personally, and I have a lot of confidence in even some of the guys that we haven't seen splash on yet, like guys like Kalen King, guys I feel like Hobbs, and even possibly people that we haven't seen that they could surprise us. Would I like to obviously have Jair there? Totally. If I could pick it, be my preference, 100% plug him there. I would still want, I think, Carrington on the opposite side. I'd love to have maybe Nixon be more of a backup boundary type person or perimeter guy. And I still think that X and Evan are my favorites for deep safety. And unfortunately, I wish that I could say I want Bullard in the slot, but I think that we'd probably have a better run with either Hobbs or even Keyshawn possibly playing nickel again. So I don't know. I think that we have enough options where it's interesting. Like losing one of those guys doesn't throw a wrench in the system enough so where I'm like, oh, all hope is lost. Start over. The secondary's done. If anything, I think we could lose, and I hate saying it this way, I think we could afford to lose 2 or 3 injuries and still be competable, or still compete on a weekend and weekend basis. I just, for that much, I'm not freaking out. It definitely would make me less excited, less confident, but I'd say, 6 out of 10.
Gotcha. What about you, Emilio? 1 to 10, 10 being the most concerned. How concerned would you be if Jair was not on the roster?
I mean, I'm like a 4 or 5. We played without him last year. I figured, he's under contract right now. If he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, he doesn't. We'll figure out the money and, whatever the punishment is after that. But I think that the defense is going to be fine, without Ja being there. I think that they showed it last year. They can show it again this year, and we've just added more talent to it. So I don't really see it being a huge problem. Obviously, you'd love to have him, but I'm not too worried. Probably like a 4.
Gotcha. What about you, Tim? What number would you put on him?
5, right where I have been.
That's
right
where I would be. Yeah.
Right in the middle. I've kind of been there throughout this whole process. The thing with Ja is, like, Emilio makes a great point. Like, we've already seen what it's like to not have Jair for an extended period of time. This is why we're talking about Carrington Valentine in the way we are, because he got those opportunities and he maximized them. So there's a reason to believe that, obviously, yes, we're a better team with Jair Alexander on the field, but, injuries aside, availability aside, I'm the captain, antics aside, all of that, the things that come with Ja being Ja, you set all that aside. I mean, at what point do you start to think maybe he's a progress stopper the longer he's around? And you look at guys like a CV, you look at Kalen King, you see Javon Bullard, you see these young guys in the secondary, and it's like, well, we'd love to have Ja if he's 100% and he's playing like he did in, 2019, 2020, then great. But if not, then hey, I say let the kids play. I feel good about this defense, especially the secondary. And but Ja's my dude, so I'm going to stay right in the middle. I'd love to see him back. I'd love to see him, play the rest of his career here, but not as much as I would love to see the Packers bring Lombardi home. So whatever it takes to get that done, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. If you guys would take a quick second, hit that like button for us. Feel free to sub to the channel. Got a bunch of people watching in here. We appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening as the Packers were at OTAs earlier today. Shout out to Professor Cakes. I just got my signed Robert Brooks jersey.
Yep.
Rock PTA. That's absolutely awesome, man. If you guys are wondering what the heck that's about, we do giveaways on here for people who are in our Patreon group. It's a way for us to give back to those who are supporting the channel. And that is the best way to support what we do here at PTA is go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access or scan the QR code in the upper right. If you're a member of the $3 tier, so what we say, don't worry about the other two unless you just want to be extra generous. But if you're a member of the $3 tier, you get entered into all of the giveaways. And this Saturday, we're going to be giving away an autographed rookie Kingsley and Igbare card donated from Rick Kruger. Nice little piece here. And we got a autographed Lucas Van Ness that's going out from last week. And we have got a ton of giveaways coming up. So we'll probably start scattering a couple in throughout the middle of the week. Just make sure you're a member of that $3 tier, and that'll enter you into a chance to win in those contests for sure. Greg Rice said the beard left. Yeah, he was sending racy pictures here in the private chat, so we had to boot him out, man.
Get ready to go.
Just on what would this be? Probably about a 22 and a half hour suspension. We got the beard on.
Yep.
So. Moving along, Marcus Eversole actually tweeted this out, said new defensive line coach DeMarcus Covington doing his job. And he put in parentheses, in case you were wondering, he's coaching. Okay, so here he is with the defensive line group, and you see Baron Sorrell. Baron Sorrell looking like a dog. I'm going to take that back one more time. Look at number 99 here, boys. It's a big old – did you see the way he threw that down?
I think he broke that tackling dummy for sure.
Dude, those sleds aren't light either.
Oh, they are.
My man just
look at
compared to that one. I mean, he threw that thing to the side.
Yeah, we'll let it loop back through. We'll catch it again here in a minute. Is this number 55? Who is this? No, it's 53.
Mosby.
Right?
Yeah, Mosby.
Now you see. Here we go. Watch him again. Watch him throw this thing, guys. Get off me. Dog. What kind of impact you guys think DeMarcus Covington is going to have on this defensive line? And we're going to talk Kenny Clark here in a minute as we got some extra information. Actually, we'll hit that next. I think Covington's going to be a great addition, man. He's winning pedigree. We went through and broke down his entire coaching history. Obviously, he was handpicked by Bill Belichick in that, to be added to his defense. And he was in there for multiple years before he excelled all the way to defensive coordinator under Gerard Mayo, which we know that entire experiment was an absolute disaster. I think what you're getting here in DeMarcus Covington is someone who's got a great history in terms of – people like to say, oh, well, look how bad they were when he was a defensive coordinator. Right, he's not our defensive coordinator now. He's back to doing what he's done really, really well when New England had some of the top defenses in the league. So what do y'all think about Covington here?
Go ahead, Emilio.
Man, I'm now watching a little bit of this tape. I just get excited. He kind of has that energy. He's got that drive. He's sitting there. He's showing them. He's, like we said, came from Bill Belichick. That tree, that alone has got to have so much just importance and meaning behind it. And the amount that he learned from him is, I'm sure second to none. Then on top of that, you got Jeff Hafley right over there, right behind the other dummy, sitting right over his back, just making sure, we're all on the same page together, that we're getting what we want out of this team, out of this D line. And I love the unity and that sort of brotherhood that they got. And that's exciting to see. I hope he really does turn that D line around and get whatever else out we can out of him.
Yeah, Tim, Greg asked here, is he next up when Hafley? I love that everybody just knows Hafley's leaving. Like, it's just a matter of time for that dude's a head coach.
La 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 blah blah blah.
The beautiful thing about that question, though, Tim, is there's multiple candidates, right? You got Derek
Oh, yeah.
Ansley, former DC. You got Covington, former DC. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I don't want to even think about Coach Half leaving, but you can't, block a guy from moving up in the world, right? And certainly he would deserve a head coaching opportunity at some point, but I don't want to think about that right now. I think you're right, though. I mean, we've got plenty of candidates that could, be interviewed for that position. Obviously, if that did happen, we're going to look in-house first, and then we're probably going to interview a few other candidates outside the building and see what happens. But I feel good about our defensive staff as a whole. And Coach Covington, judging on, we're talking about the impact that he could have on this D line, right? And I think that beyond wins and losses and success rate as a coach, my biggest attribute when you look at a coach, whether that's a head coach or a coordinator or a position coach, is what do they get out of their players?
Right.
Like certain guys are able to just get that extra gear out of a guy, or they get players to buy in. We hear that term a lot, right? Buy in. And I think one of the things, if you look at Coach Reb, just in comparison last year to this year, I think guys were bought in and guys were, wanted to play for him. But I think Coach Covington kind of brings kind of a more balanced approach. I think he's a technical coach. He's an X's and O's guy. He's experienced as a player and as a coach. And then, he's got a little bit of fire and brimstone too, a little bit of intensity with the guys. You could see that. And I think he's going to be judged basically on what we see from our players. What kind of year is Kenny Clark going to have? What kind of year is Rashawn going to have? How are these rookies going to play in their first year in this system, in this scheme? So that's what I'm going to judge him based on.
Yeah. Daryl in the chat says Sorrell might be Gary's opposite side. Yeah, he's definitely going to get snaps. I mean, with the way they rotate those pass rushers in, Sorrell's going to get an opportunity this year. Now, the question is, and we'll get the LV in here in a minute, will he kick inside? There's some rumors swirling about that. I don't know if there's any validity to it or not, but excited to see how that all unfolds as well. But I agree, Daryl. I mean, the thought of Gary on one side, Sorrell on the other, that's some straight power rushing right there. And then you mix in a little bit of our boy Colin Oliver too, and you got Brenton Cox Jr. You got you got a lot of depth there. You really do. And I know people still like to try to dog the pass rush, but top 10 in sacks, you're number 2 in run defense. Like I don't know what else we're looking for, boys, unless we're saying we ain't going to settle till we get top 3 in every single statistical category. It's so rare that it happens in the NFL because you got to pick and choose what you're going to take away. Ryan Wood tweeted this out. Kenny Clark has hosted Packers D-line at his house for film study throughout the spring. It's common to spend time together off field, but film study on Friday and Saturday nights are rare. Tim, give me a screen grab if you don't care real quick. It can be the wrong one or whichever. Halfway probably all right. He said, quote, we're together all the time, so why not watch film and get better while we're hanging out? You want to know why they love Kenny Clark? Listen what this man has to say right here. I'm telling you, this is – and, again, we're going to find out about some of the struggles that Kenny had last year. We'll hit on that here in a second. But here's what Kenny Clark had to say. And, again, this was by Ryan Wood on X that posted this video.
Did you decide to do it this offseason?
I mean, we've been doing it. We've been doing it pretty much this whole off season. We did it a little bit like last year. Like we'd get together, watch Indy and all that kind of stuff. But we've been more consistent with it. Just picking each other's brain, talking about different formations, fronts. Main thing with them, I'm trying to get all the younger guys to just understand formations and how to play the blocks. We going back to more playing technique. So. It's huge for them to understand formations and how people are going to try to block the front.
It's one thing to do that, when you're in the building, but you guys are doing it on your Friday and Saturday nights. He said.
Yeah.
Why? That's unusual. Why?
I mean, we together all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, why not? You want to watch film and get better while we hanging out.
How did it end up at your house?
Huh?
How did it end up being at your house?
I mean, most of the time I just invite guys over. Everything pretty much be at the house, yeah. So, we watch Thursday night football, watch the NBA finals, watching, we hanging out, and then we turn on the iPad, watching Indy, see where we can get better at, and watching just game film, whatever other guys rushing, whatever the case may be.
I know you guys are there to obviously learn the formations, but how much does it help just getting that off-season bonding going?
Yeah, that's the main thing is just getting a bond. I'm sorry, getting a bonding and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just building as a team. You know, we're gonna need everybody, and you know, we're gonna need everybody to be playing at a high level to start the season and so forth. So we got to just make sure we hitting all.
All right, so I know there's many people through it like that's all fine and good, Clayton, but what about on the field? What happened on the field last year? This, to me, makes all the sense in the world, and we had heard some rumors about injury and this and that, but you guys remember when we were watching film all year long, what did we see? They had him in a touch spot. They had him playing a one tech to a 2-eye in the nickel 4-2-5. He was eating a double team, and like we showed a play the other night where Edgerrin Cooper kind of came across the inside right on the face of the guard and washed the guard into the tackle. And then you seen Kenny engage, and he just kind of straight to the left, just hanging back, covering the rush lane. Cooper ended up hitting home on the sack. When you see consistently week in and week out, and people were dogging Kenny, and you guys know I've been vocal. I didn't think we should have extended Kenny. That's just me personally, not at the price that we did. But we said as soon as it happened, it's so obvious this coaching staff and Brian Gutekunst sees him as a leader. You're getting a locker room stud too. This guy that's going to be the glue to a team. He is just a natural born leader. There's no two ways about that. But as Matt Schneidman tweeted out here, Kenny Clark asked if the field surface in Brazil contributed to his toe injury that led to off-season surgery. Quote, I ain't going to answer that question. Last time I got all the Brazilians on me. Is what he said. All right. But Rob Domofsky, Matt Schneidman, a quote tweeted Rob Domofsky, says, Packers defensive tackle Kenny Clark said he underwent foot surgery in January for a bunion/bone spurs. Anybody ever heard bone spur before?
Yeah.
That sucks. That is like walking on glass is what it feels like.
Exactly what it feels like. Glasses coated in salt and razor blades. Yeah.
He spent a good chunk of last season on the injury report because of a toe injury. Said it initially happened in the season opener in Brazil. He was playing with a toe injury since week 1 of last year, right? And again, it explains why Hafley utilized him the way he did. It makes me feel a little bit better about our predictions too. We were expecting his pass rush numbers to go up. When that happens in week 1, and he's going, no, I want to be out there. I want to be out there. They knew, all right, he's gonna garner attention. Right, he's considered our best defensive tackle. So defense is already going to be looking for him. Why not set them up and force them to double team him, put him in a 2-eye or a 1-tech, and have the 3 to a 4-eye on the opposite side? That way, okay, let's just go ahead and double team. All right, they want to put their best defensive tackle in a double team position anyway. Let's just double him, and we'll make them play left-handed. And lo and behold, you look back, and he's battling a foot injury all year long. It makes sense, right, Emilio? Does that really connect the dots?
Yeah,
it does for me.
Absolutely. I'm be honest, I didn't even really know that he had that toe that bad. We talked about turf toe earlier. Anything that messes with your feet, I mean, that is brutal in the NFL. I mean, brutal in any sport really, but like he's got no drive. He's facing off against at least 1 300-pounder, probably 2 if he's getting double teamed. And where are you able to? Yeah, exactly, Coach. Surgery on the toe is no joke. He has to push off without that toe. Yep. That's it. What are you trying to do? You're turning your foot sideways to try to get it flat. You're trying to dig off your heel. How can you even lean forward at all without being able to push off? So, a tough guy right there. That's a man right there. I mean, you talk about you could be messing around talking about a foot injury, toe injury, but playing on it for 18 games, that's something else.
Yeah, and Coach Lynn says here, and he played through it all year, Tim, all year long.
Yep. Yeah, I think. I mean, if I was a lineman, obviously I'm not because I'm like $150 soaking wet,
and I'm jealous too.
But seriously, I would rather break my hand or my forearm or my shoulder or tear a pec than to deal with anything lower body with 280, 300 plus pounds on my frame, and I got to be light on my toes. I got to move laterally. I got to move. Like Emilio's saying, how do you even get down into a 3-point stance if you had to? How do you get that momentum going forward if you got no push off? We dealt with that with Tay. Tay Adams had turf toe his last year in Green Bay, and people were, oh, it's just turf toe. Why isn't he playing? It's like, man, do you realize this guy runs and cuts for a living and is doing that with, a knife in his foot? Like, it's difficult. And I think a lot of these injury designations can kind of get lost in the weeds because they sound less serious than they are. Out with a toe injury, and everyone's like, oh, it's your toe. It's like you have no idea until you deal with something like that, what that does to the body.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you're standing on, like, you're trying to play on the ball of your feet. How can you even put pressure there? Like, at that point, just wrap it up or chop it, like, just chop it off, do something, because you can't play flat-footed, and you also can't explode off of it. If it was his big toe, it's a wrap. We don't know exactly what toe it was, but if it was his big toe, I absolutely am not holding anything against him, because there's no way one of your feet, like, everything, from
you look at these guys' feet when they finish their careers too. And they're been through a wood chipper or something, and it's like they deal with this all the time. And I like Ed Madden's comment here. One thing about Kenny, he doesn't miss games, and it's like, hey, let's pull up the PFF, man. Let's go back. The last of the Ted Thompson draft picks on this team is Kenny Clark, and I think he's missed 5 or 6 games his whole career. Yeah. That's something to be said about that for sure.
Did you get your money out of him based off of his appearance on not being hurt? Like, yeah, you might not have gotten the stats, but did you get your money out of the work? If you're looking at it as a tool, did that tool do the job for you? Even though maybe it wasn't it wasn't drilling in the screw as fast as you wanted it to, but that thing ran for years on end.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you, we talked about Big Dog last night. Right. We were talking about Mercedes Lewis and like, hey, how would we feel about after retirement, a guy like that coming back in as a position coach or a, developmental guy, or maybe an advisor or something. I feel the same way about Kenny Clark right now. We don't know how many years, of football he's got left. I wouldn't be opposed to him coming back and coaching, being a defensive line assistant coach. I mean, he's basically been kind of a player coach these past couple of years working with these young guys. And I think, to Kenny's credit, man, he's really he's really taken that responsibility seriously. I think he's kind of owning that leadership role with this D-line group. And, with the coaching turnover and the changes that we've had, I think it's important to have guys like that on your team for sure.
Yeah. Ryan Wood also tweeted this out. It's a minute 30 video. We'll hold off on the video, but he said Lucas Van Ness played with a cast protecting his broken thumb on his right hand until week 10 last year. Even after the cast was removed, Van Ness said there was, quote, mental block, learning how to use his hands again. How much did the injury affect him? Quote, playing defensive line, it's all with your hands. And I want to scroll down because Ryan Wood also went on to say, ask Rashawn Gary how difficult it would be for an edge rusher playing with a broken thumb. His answer might help explain Lucas Van Ness's challenge last season and what teammates think of what he did last year. Gary said, quote, he's a dog, man. That just shows you not being able because our hands are everything as a defensive lineman. If you don't have these, you don't have nothing. Playing with 9 instead of 10 fingers, going against people 330, 350 pounds, it's a hard job. That just shows you his grit, his hunger for the game, and how much he cares about this team and this organization. So a lot of LVN hate out there. And I'm telling you, man, there's also stuff that's going around right now about Lucas Van Ness, and Wes Hodkiewicz had tweeted this out. We'll go rapid fire and show this real quick while we're on it. Wes Hodkiewicz says, LaFleur on Lucas Van Ness getting reps inside. Quote, situationally, you can do that. In known passing situations, there's some thought around that. A lot is going to be dependent on everyone else as well. Lucas has shown a lot of growth. Excited to see him once the pads go on. So what we talked about and how he played at Iowa, he would play that 3 tech. He'd play that 4. Some cases he'd be a 5 tech with a wide 9 outside of him. So he's technically playing defensive tackle. I feel like I think back, Emilio, to what Greg Cosell said. Greg Cosell said going into that summer, he said, I'm hearing out of Green Bay that they see Lucas Van Ness as an outside linebacker in their 34 defense. Of course, at the time, it was Joe Barry's defense. He said, that surprises me but obviously they see something there because I seen him more as an interior pass rusher. So if they do kick him inside, and you think, how can they do that? Well, look at the heavy rotation. We just got through talking about Baron Sorrell, who can play a 3-tech as well, by the way. You got Colin Oliver added to the mix. You got Brenton Cox Jr., who led the team in pressure percentage, right? You got all these players that you can kind of rotate in. Why not kick him inside? And who knows, Emilio, this might be why they didn't go after a 3-tech. They may see LVN having a little bit of a future there. I mean, time will tell.
And I think that kind of just comes full circle to the Packers love versatility and guys, the ability to be able to work him inside and work him back outside. Then you're looking at Baron Sorrell, kind of the same sort of dude. If you want to put him on the outside, all right, we might be able to make that happen, but he can work inside from 0 to 5. And I think that's kind of always something they're tracking down. But thinking about that, he had that thing broken when we were in Tennessee and we had 8 sacks, and he helped Rashawn get that one. I mean, Rashawn came right over to him and said, "That one was you, LV. Like, that one was you, Lucas. You sprung me on that one." And so just them taking notice of that, the fact that, everyone's always fighting through injuries, but you always learn a lot more, as the year goes on, or, in this case, as the next year starts. Hey, how many guys were dogs? How many guys really fought through and played for this team no matter what? You're starting to get that picture. Kenny, LVN, like who else was really fighting through a lot? You saw Jay Love fought through a lot of injuries. And then guys on top of that are keeping it quiet until the end of the year.
Yeah. And shout out to Zach Metzenbauer, if I'm saying that right, I apologize. What are your thoughts on LVN putting on 10 to 20 pounds and playing defensive tackle instead of edge? Again, that's what he did in college. There's not going to be this huge learning curve for him to kick inside. And now think about what they've asked him to do, Tim, in the short time he's been in the league. His rookie year, they said, get out there and play 3-4 outside linebacker, something you've never done. Last year, all right, let's go to playing 4-3 defensive end. He did it quite a bit at Iowa, but again, his strength seemed to be on the interior as a pass rusher at Iowa. And now it looks like he might get his opportunity there in some kind of NASCAR package. But again, this is from our questions for the show in Patreon. Just another perk of being a part of our Patreon community. Go ahead, Tim. What do you think, man? I'd be okay with giving him reps in there. And again, it's not like you're okay now, LV, and you've got to really hammer down and learn how to play this position. No, you're talking about a passing situation. Put his big ass on the inside and go bull rush that guard.
Yep, and that's what we talked about when we drafted him, is the potential for that versatility, right? And that's what we like. And, to Emilio's point, we said this going back to last year, man. These dudes are playing for each other out there. Mm-hmm. Nobody's sitting there going, "Oh man, I was trying to get a sack and you didn't." It's like nobody's out for themselves. They're all playing for each other, and they're working in tandem. So when you take a guy like LVN, who you can put on the edge, but you can also, stick him inside on occasion, like you said, on those key downs where you need that. You need a little thumper in your pass rush. I say let him do it, and maybe with a versatile player, the best thing you can do is keep him well versed in different looks. We talked about Coach Covington coming over here and wanting to run some 34 looks, mixing it up a little bit. So if you've got guys like LVN that are versatile enough to do it, I think that's the role. It's not about being one dimensional or, hey, you're just going to play, on the right side and you're going to be an edge. Right. We need you to do a lot of things well, and that's your role on this football team. It's situationally, and it's when we need you, when we call your number, can you go execute? And I think LVN is one of those guys that is capable for sure.
Yeah. Final topic here. Matt Schneidman put a tweet out, said Keyshawn Nixon said on locker cleanout day that he was done returning kicks. The two-time first-team All-Pro kick returner now says frustration in the moment led to that statement, and he should have kept it to himself. Quote, "Of course I'm open to it. I'm always going to do what the team needs." So I know many people were kind of trying to run him out of town with that comment last year, and it's another reason why it's tough when you and I know there's a cool-off period, but when you let the media in there after a tough loss like that, there's no one who was more upset than Keyshawn Nixon at fumbling that opening kickoff. And you heard Rich Bisaccia thought about retiring, because he said and they asked him afterwards, like, how close were you to stepping away? And he's like, I just felt like I really let Matt down with the special teams last year. So you got accountability there. You got Keyshawn. I guarantee you the reason he made that comment was because he's like, man, I mean, Emilio, you fumble the opening kickoff. That's tough.
Everyone's looking at you on the sideline. Hey, keep your head up. But it's like, dude, I already messed this up. Like, there's no way you're recovering from that unless you get a pick six. You know what I mean? So, like, you're chasing a golden goose there that's probably not going to happen after you already messed up 3 seconds into the game. That's brutal.
Yeah. So I think this is good news. And I love that he just kind of owned it and said, hey, look, should have kept it to myself. It was just and I love that he wrapped it up too, Tim. Hey, I'm going to do what this team needs, man. It seems like there's some real unity on this team. And these guys, for the youngest roster in the league last year, they're all 1 year older. You got a little bit older with the free agent signings you added. I'm feeling good about where they're at, man. It does feel like that Super Bowl window is open. Oh, yeah, wide open. And I'm feeling really good about K9 right here. I don't know about you guys, but this reeks of maturity right here. This is a young player that is maturing right in front of our very eyes. And, kind of owning those comments last year and, like you said, putting a bow on it. I'm always going to do what the team needs. And that's the type of attitude you got to have to be a Packer, right? This is not a me organization. You want to deal with that. There's plenty of dumpster fires in the NFL. You can go play at if you want to be that dude. If you want to win championships and you want to compete for championships and be a part of something special, you come to Green Bay and you be a team player. And, I think maybe Keyshawn's first couple of years here, he was a little bit of a me guy. Maybe he was kind of a star on the rise. And I think you're seeing a guy that is, approaching his late 20s and he's maturing as not only as a player, but as a man, as a person. So I think it speaks volumes to Keyshawn's leadership and just the character that he has to just kind of own that and acknowledge it, not try and dodge it or dismiss it, but just say, hey, I should have kept my mouth shut. I was frustrated. That's a sign of maturity. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. I mean, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So I think the mad respect is deserved for Keyshawn Nixon here, just kind of coming into his own. I mean, hey, look at this. We got another leader in that secondary. How about that? If Keyshawn steps up and proves to be that level-headed, mature guy, man, we're looking really good on this defense for sure. If I had a time machine, I would go back to when Clayton was about 20, 21 years old and just slap the hell out of the back of his head. Hey, dude, you think you know you ain't got a clue. Yeah. I was a moron, dude. So that's again, when you hear, and these guys are at the top of their craft. I love it when fans refer to players in the NFL as garbage, trash. Oh, he's trash. Get him out of here. Oh, his downfall should be studied. Blah blah. I'm like, there is this much room for error for these guys. Yeah, and it's real easy to say stuff like that from your mommy's couch in the basement. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right. Anything else, gents? We good?
I think we're good.
All right, that was fun, man. I'm glad we got to hit all the updates. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We had a huge crowd in here. You guys and gals are awesome. Hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate y'all hanging with us this evening. And again, the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access, just join the Patreon community, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3 tier gets you access to everything. Whether you want to use it or not, we have people ask all the time, hey, how do I support the show? Super chats on YouTube, and then just join the Patreon community. I always say join the Patreon community because you do get, little extra benefits there, extra content, all that good stuff. So, again, appreciate everybody, and shout out to my autism connection over there at Mac. Thank you guys for all the awesome work that y'all are doing as well. And we'll looking forward to it. We got the whole month of June to run that promotion to give away that autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. And it's going to be fun to see who actually wins that thing. As you guys, like I said, just go to my Twitter account at Packers_access, click on the link, and for every $5 you donate, you're going to be entered into the contest one time to get that awesome piece of memorabilia. So that's it. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time for PTA Live. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Packers.
There we go.
Bye, guys.